Welcome to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, the daily talk show with the voice of Penn State football and men's basketball. You never know what special guest may stop on by any given day. Now here's the man of the hour, Mr. Steve Jones.
All right, welcome. Great to have you with us on the show today. And obviously is what has been a week of dramatic change at Penn State. I want to start out with this. I cannot say enough great things about what James Franklin has done and what he has meant, not just to Penn State football, but also what he has meant to Penn State, what he has meant to the community, and what he has meant to me personally. He is somebody that attacked this job working 20 hours a day tirelessly, and I think sometimes there were more than 20 hours, whether it was all out in recruiting, all out getting ready for games, all out building relationships, all out trying to do whatever he could to raise money in this NIL era and so forth. And he made sure that his players graduated along the way. A lot of former Penn State players have had great success since leaving here, not just in the pro ranks, just in the business ranks, in the business world, because he has prepared them for that. I always talked about the extras that they put in there, like, hey, look, this is how you need to handle money. Let's go through a course on that. How do you handle your taxes? Do a course on that. He did all of these things because he genuinely cared about his players. He genuinely cared about his staff. And he's a very relationship-based person. To see the end the way it has ended is very, very tough, without question, because I feel that that when you look at how he entered here, Bill O'Brien did a great job of keeping Penn State afloat, along with Mike Motti and Mike Zordich and that entire group of players that Joe recruited, right? Kept Penn State afloat. And as I've said many times, that that Bill O'Brien told me, Steve, he says, hang with us in 14 and 15. I think those are going to be the two roughest years. Turned out that Bill ended up getting a job with the Houston Texans, and it was James Franklin that had to navigate 14 and 15. So James Franklin brought them back from 63 scholarships and then got them to 10-plus wins, 11-plus wins. I mean, let's face it, if I'm sitting there in 12, 13, 14, and 15, and you're going to tell me that over the next few years, you're going to see Penn State win a Big Ten title, play for another, go to 2 Rose Bowls, win one, go to 2 Fiesta Bowls, win both, go to a Cotton Bowl, win that, go to a Peach Bowl, go to the college football playoff, and not only go but win 2 games, they get within an eyelash of playing for the national championship. All right? I'd have told you, boy, let me on that horse in a heartbeat. I can't wait to see all that, because when you're going through the tough times of 12, 13, 14, and 15, it was hard to envision the possibility of it. But through force of personality and the job that he did, okay, and the job that he did, they got there. Now, of course, there's after a 3-game losing streak, the move was made in a year that had great expectations.
Penn State comes in second ranked in the nation. There are hopes of titles. There are hopes of Big Ten championships and expectations of such. And you look at everybody from the offensive line returning. The running backs are back. Drew Allar returns. It was across the board. As we discussed throughout the offseason, it felt like the perfect storm. We had seen it with Ohio State and with Michigan, where those two programs bring everyone back. What do? They win titles. And so that was the expectation, and that was the goal, of course. Always the goal for every team every year is to win the championship game. And that was the goal and expectation for Penn State.
They had roster retention, which I talked about many times, which is one of the keys, I think, in this era. Can you get a really good player, keep the really good player?
On defense, on offense, special teams, everywhere.
So I will say this. I've done, in doing this, you talk hours a week. So I've talked a lot about roster retention. I've talked a lot about depth. I've talked about the ability of getting a roster that had maybe 50 players that could play in the fourth quarter of a game. I would say right now they're about 36 to 38 that can play in the fourth quarter of the game. So that hasn't met what I thought it was going to be. And to the audience, I apologize. I misread some things with the team as to what they could or couldn't do. And 9 times out of 10, I can read it. This time I haven't been able to read it. I can't really put my finger on it, except we'll just start with the basics. They've got to be better up front on both sides of the ball. But it seems like every single series has been a fight out there to keep pushing forward. It's been a fight. And then defensively, that's where I've really been surprised because I know Jim's system takes a little bit to pick up. I get that part. And Jim's system is also heavily reliant on the front four doing things in such a way where the back seven then can really do something.
Yeah.
They haven't had a takeaway in the last 3 games. And don't look at the Oregon game, say he denied Dennis Sutton, picked off one in overtime. That was a 2-point conversion. So that's the equivalent of the kick went wide right. It statistically
doesn't matter.
It doesn't come up. That's not a turnover. Now if he had scored, right? But they haven't had a takeaway in 3 games. That means Penn State, they block kicks, so that's where they've had short fields. But for the most part, have had to go a long way. And the stop rate for the defense in the last 3 games has been a struggle.
May I make
stops?
I know. Yeah. Myself and Jason, we talked during our post-game show right after you and Jack and Raj and Brian wrapped up. And where I look at it is Penn State played Oregon for that entire game and fought. It was a fight, and it was going to be. Those were at the time, the 2 of the best teams in the nation fighting. And Penn State played a little bit of towards the end of the game, bend, don't break defense because they were tired. They were out there for 20 more plays than they needed to be, and it's difficult. And it felt like, as a lot of people have expressed, the idea of the word broken, that this defense, I don't know, we don't know what it was, no idea, but it felt like that game broke them. Something is broken, but we don't know what cog in the machine is broken. Of course, we know Tony Rojas is out for the season, or Tony Rojas is out for at least a while.
He's out for the year.
We assumed we're out for the season, but it's a long-term injury.
He's out for the season. Okay.
So he's out for the season, but even before his injury, it felt like the energy had drained. And then, of course, he's injured. You go against UCLA, and the defense just got eaten alive, as we discussed, by UCLA. And in this game against Northwestern, it felt like there was something just missing. I don't know what it is. I spent the last 3 days trying to put my finger on what it was.
No, I can't.
Nothing. I got nothing.
I can't. That's what I'm trying to tell everybody. I normally over the years I could say, okay, well they've got to shore up this. They got to be now being better in the trenches. I think that's where it starts. You've got to be better up front on both sides. So we'll start with that. But I haven't been able to really put my finger on it. And it goes back to what I said last week. We'll take it from an offensive point of view. It's just easier to do.
Yeah.
Okay. You run 20 plays. 15 are pristine. 5, there's a foul ball. The problem is it's not the same person making the mistake twice. It's 5 different people making mistakes on a play, and in football you need all 11. So you can have 15 where all 11 are, boom, right there, and it's a different guy every time that missed an assignment, missed a block, maybe ran a wrong route, something. Where you sit back and go, oh, you got to be kidding me. Right? And when you're in a situation like this, part of playing the game of football is the emotion, and part of playing any sport is not just the emotion, but also the ability to have fun with the game. And it just seems like they have not had fun with the game.
That was where I kind of got to.
Because they've had to fight their way through everything to this point. And I'm not taking anything away from Oregon, UCLA, or Northwestern. I'm not. And it's just been hard for me to pinpoint why and why not.
And from the outside looking in, it feels like there is no fun being had. And that was the weird thing, because this team came back and it was all these new pieces, these guys who like bring the energy, bring the this, bring the that, and it looks like they're not having fun. And at the end of the day, what fans need to understand is these players are playing football, and it's been talked about a lot by a lot of athletes, a lot of coaches, a lot of guys. You need to be having fun. Like, part of this is you need to have some fun. Yes, it's your job. Yes, it's this. Yes, it's that. But these, like, Drew Allar's younger than I am. He's in his 20s. A lot of these guys, like Chaz Coleman's and such, are 18, 19-year-olds. They should be having fun while they're playing football.
Right.
And it's felt like there has not been fun being had by this team. The last moment that I can think of that there was some fun being had was Chaz Coleman's strip sack, where he returned it to like the 5. That was the last moment where I can see that team was having fun. After that point, it felt like it just was gone.
Yeah.
And like, have you seen this happen before with other teams, whether it was good, bad, ugly, where they aren't having fun? So I'm like genuinely curious.
Well, sure. I mean, I can tell you flat out, when everything happened with Joe, nobody had fun.
Yeah.
Everything was, every time you turned around, it was one crushing blow after another. The fact that the players persevered, hiring Bill helped them persevere. But, I mean, the last 4 games of that season, including the bowl game.
Yeah. There was
okay. It was just, so they played the Nebraska game, and it was just like a pall was over the stadium. The next week they go to Ohio State. Now, they won the game. But Friday we get there, and I knew on the plane already. I'd already known about it. So when I got on the plane, I knew about it. But that's when they found out Joe had cancer. So Tom had to tell the team once we got to Columbus that Joe had, so like everything. Like every time you turned around, and then, you go to Wisconsin, believe it or not, if they beat Wisconsin, they were going to play in the Big Ten championship game. Right. And the game was 7, and it's just boom. Then they go to the bowl game, and there was a big fight about whether or not to go to the bowl game, which they're contractually obligated to go to. They go to Dallas, and it just, Matt McGloin got hurt in an off-field incident in the locker room. Rob Bolden had to play quarterback, did the best he could, but it was just like, then everybody, of course, changes up, switches, all new staff comes in, the whole thing. You go through spring football, you're like, okay. And then the sanction thing comes down, which is going to go down to me as one of the truly, with all due respect, one of the truly disgusting days I've ever seen in my life. The NCAA did something. They didn't break any rules. What rule did they break? No. Okay. But now you're allowed to have people come on campus because they let the entire roster for Penn State. Everybody talks about today's transfer portal. That was it. Okay. You not only could get any Penn State player who could play for you right away, that could play for you right away, but you could go beyond the 85 limit to have them on the roster. So say you had 85 scholarships. I got 2 Penn State players. I was allowed to carry 87. They were doing everything they can to ruin the place. And all these people are on campus recruiting. Have I seen down and out? Yeah. I've seen down and out. And for years, it was in that stadium, it was an us against the world mentality. And finally, when the night they beat Ohio State, when Marcus Allen blocked the field goal, and Grant Haley ran it back, and then people stormed the field. That was the first release of joy I'd seen. Okay, it was always us against the world. Yeah, we got you. That night was the release of joy, and suddenly the Happy Valley came back, and it stayed there for a long time. Now you've got to move forward. Terry Smith is a great choice. He was the only choice, in my opinion, to take over.
So tell me about Terry Smith as someone who, of course, I got to Happy Valley a couple of years ago. I've been learning more about this team, this program, everything. Terry Smith, I know he got here in 2014 alongside James, same time. Tell me about Terry Smith. For those uninformed, give me some background here.
Terry, of course, played here, and Terry was a terrific player here. You know, Terry, I think when Terry got here, he was like 155 pounds. And he'd make catches, he'd make plays, and he'd block. Terry was a tough, hard-nosed player and was a terrific player here. He played in the pros a little bit, NFL, CFL, things like that. He got into coaching. He was a terrific high school coach down at Gateway. Great high school coach. But he wanted to move up, and he got into the college ranks, whatever, and he was actually part of the Temple staff at one point. Well, then he's one of the first hires that James made here. And for Jack Ham and myself, whether it's Thursday or Friday, Terry has always been the go-to guy that we wanted to talk to. We talked to Andy, we talked, right? I haven't really talked a lot with you. I've only talked a little bit with Jim. Jack's talked with Jim more than I have, right? But always talk to Andy, Danny O'Brien. I've been able to talk to anybody I want, but Terry was always, without question, the go-to guy. Why? Because he didn't sugarcoat anything. No filter, very direct. Right? Okay. This guy's struggling. This guy's doing really well. I really like where he's going. Boy, that's got to be better. That's got to be better. Let's talk about the opposing team. Okay, well, this guy can throw it down the middle really well, but you throw it outside the numbers, he really struggles, right? The wide receivers are really good. I said, or he'll tell us, he's like, they're really not that great at wide out. They're not precise. I mean, he's just blunt. Yeah. Right? You kind of walk away.
And you're like, okay.
Got it. Got it.
Okay, so that's who Terry Smith is. That's who is taking on over the reins as the interim head coach for the rest of the season. I know him and Pat Kraft talked yesterday during a press conference about the program. Pat discussed what he's looking for going forward. He also discussed the coaching search ahead. We're not going to get into that just yet. Before we get to the future stuff.
I'm not going to into it. When you're the play-by-play announcer of a team, you are not the person that people go to and say, what do you think about the coaching search? Yeah. That's Pat Kraft's job. It's them, it's my job to stay out of it.
Yes.
Okay.
What I do want to get into, though, is on the path of that Northwestern game is bringing up the other piece of what happened towards the end of the game. I know I was listening on in to you and Jack when Drew Allar goes down injured.
Yep.
And it was announced by James post-game that Drew Allar is officially out for the rest of the season with an injury. And this, before we get to the future of the quarterback spot for Penn State, Drew Allar's Penn State career is over.
Yes,
he's out of eligibility. That was the last time.
I was on Sirius XM yesterday, and they asked me about that and about his legacy here. And I said, look, he'll forever be remembered as the first quarterback to ever bring Penn State to the college football playoff and the first quarterback in the history of Penn State football to win not one but two college football playoff games. Yeah. I said, people forget, right, in the Fiesta Bowl, he did throw 3 touchdown passes.
He played incredibly.
It kind of gets lost in the wash, with everything that went on that he did that. And it's also not surprising in some ways as to how it ended. Him trying to fight for that yard to keep his team alive. That's Drew Allar.
Yeah.
Drew Allar is a football player playing quarterback. I would always kid around with James. He says, anybody got to teach him how to slide? He goes, I know. I don't want him taking hits. I'm like, yeah. But that's not his nature. I mean, you watching these last 3 games in particular, Every time he ran the ball, what did he do? He's going forward.
Yeah,
he's taking contact.
He's doing the forward dive, the thing that Josh Allen did forever and still does.
He's taking contact. Right? And, what he did at USC last year to bring them back, which was phenomenal. And, you look at his career, he had a great career here. He threw 61 touchdown passes here. He had 2,200-yard passing games. And you look at the fact they had 34 wins over the last 3 years coming into this season. Well, let's face it, the last 24 of them, okay, he was the quarterback.
He was. The quarterback going forward for the Nittany Lions taking over is redshirt freshman Ethan Grunkemeyer. So Grunkemeyer in his career for Penn State so far is 9 for 13, 116 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. The 1 interception was thrown last year. His touchdown pass was thrown this season. He threw it against Villanova in a 52-6 win. What can you tell the listeners out there about Ethan Grunkemeyer? He's a redshirt freshman. This is Penn State fans are gonna. This is a very different player compared to Drew Allar. Is that fair to say?
Not completely.
Okay.
He has a very strong arm.
Okay.
Very strong arm. There are certain throws where I think he's got more on it even than Drew did. And he can move. Now he's not the guy you're going to go out and run the option with.
He's not Bo Beulah on the run.
No, but Jackson Smolik
is
more in the vein of stylistically more like Bo.
Okay.
And let's not discount his name either. Now, look, they haven't practiced that this week. Okay, practice on Sunday was canceled. Okay, I mean, you're not going to get anything done on Sunday.
No.
Now with the raw emotion of all this, no, it's not going to happen. All right, so whenever you have a quarterback that is young, inexperienced, and making his first start, not only that, on the road at a civil environment like Kinnick Stadium at night, it'll be daytime when it starts.
Yeah.
But you need a running game. You need your running game to be really good. That way it takes some of the pressure off him. And if you have a running game and you're able to establish something like that, now you can do more of the play-action game, which, again, takes more pressure off of him. The question is going to be, how does he handle the speed of the game? Right? Because he hasn't had a lot of opportunities to get out there and play. So how is he going to handle the speed of the game? Iowa's a team that is a very good defensive team. They've always been a very good defensive team. They've had one aberration this year, and that was the first half of the Rutgers game. We're like, wow, that didn't look like an Iowa defense at all.
And then they turned it on.
Right. Then the second half, they shut Rutgers down and allowed the offense to come back. Because that was a 21-21 game at halftime in Piscataway. It's crazy. I thought, wow, I don't feel like I'm watching Iowa football right now. Now they're back to playing Iowa football. Coming off a shutout over Wisconsin 37-0. So, I mean, it's going to be, and it makes life easier for the quarterback when you are starting out and don't have a lot of real-world on-field experience.
If you can just, if you can hand the ball off, you give it to Katron, you give it to Nick Singleton, and you start the game rolling, and you're laughing, wondering what's... Someone sent you a message.
Jack Ham
sent you a message.
Yes. I'll deal with it after.
Oh, boy.
No, it's just, look, you have to understand how the two of us roll.
Yeah.
You gotta, it's like, he could send me stuff, right? It's what people don't realize about Jack, what an incredible sense of humor he has. So we can just, so I apologize, but it came up on my phone. I looked at it. I apologize for laughing.
How dare you, sir? So
that's what he brings to the table. Now, can he move? Yeah, he can move. He can. There's no doubt about that.
Mm-hmm.
And there'll be times he's going to have to.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he's a confident young man.
Yeah.
He's confident. But again, what makes it easier for a quarterback to get into the flow and the speed of the game? If you're running the ball, he's got 10 other people whose jobs will be to, A, do their job, and by doing their job, take the pressure off him doing his job. That's going to be important in the game.
Yeah.
And just play within yourself. Don't be reckless. Okay? There are going to be times where you've got to make the throw. There are going to be times you're going to need to be patient. Be patient. Right? And so I'm going to be very interested to see what he does, not just Saturday night, but moving forward the rest of the way.
So him and Jackson Smolk are the two guys to look at in the quarterback room for Penn State moving forward. And again, moving forward for Penn State, I don't want to talk about the coaching search, but I do want to discuss what you've seen from different people. I'll give you some names. I just want to know kind of like what you know about these guys.
Okay.
Because I don't know a lot. Like, truthfully, this is me being like, I don't know enough.
All right, I'll give you thumbnails on who they are, but I have no idea. It's not really my...
That is my hope, is to get a thumbnail. And so we'll start with a team that Penn State is going to play later this season. Matt Rule, Nebraska. Matt coached at Temple. He coached with, I believe, the Panthers were the team he was with.
Carolina. He also coached at Baylor.
And now is with Nebraska. What snapshot can you give me about him? Of course, he's with Nebraska right now. They're 25th in the nation. I believe they're 5-1 on the season.
They are
5-1.
They are.
So, give me an idea of who Matt Rule is.
Did a great job of helping build Temple, working with Al Golden. Then when Al left for Miami, Matt took the job with the Giants for a year as the assistant offensive line coach, and then came back as the head coach at Temple. And then did a phenomenal job there, which then opened the door for him to get the Baylor job. And the Baylor job, he took over at a point where they were in despair and was able to get Baylor relevant again. And that opened the door for him to take the Carolina job. Now he's in his third year at Nebraska. They're 5-1 right now. Everybody knows, of course, he played for Joe here at Penn State. He was a linebacker here. Of course, State College. And because, let's face it, Pat was at Temple at the time. Pat did not hire him, but
they were there at the same time.
Right, they were there at the same time.
A guy who's been here previously, who left a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, is now down in Raleigh-Durham. Manny Diaz. He coached here, of course, the defensive coordinator. Previously was at Miami, now at Duke.
The Miami situation made him a better coach in some ways, because coming out of there, he needed to get back on track as a coach. Coming here as the defensive coordinator, he did an absolutely phenomenal job. Plus, a lot of women seem to like the flow. I mean, it's like,
he's got good hair.
Yeah,
I'll give him that.
Does.
He's got a good haircut.
He does. But he's a great guy, terrific coach, especially on the defensive side. I'm not surprised he's doing well at Duke. He's gone to Duke, and I think the lessons he learned at Miami, the lessons he learned at Miami, what he took here from Penn State has made him a far more successful head coach, which is what he's doing at Duke right now.
Next man up, the one who's coming here November 8th with Indiana, Kurt Cignetti. Of course, they had a huge weekend. They beat Oregon in Autzen Stadium, which people thought could happen, but they were the dominant team in that game. So before we get to that game itself, Cignetti was at James Madison, went to Indiana last year, is now a year and a half into the Indiana job.
Not his first Indiana stop, because he was at IUP.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Google him.
Okay.
I want to say Elon, too. Kurt's in his 60s.
He is 64 years old from Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
He was the coach at IUP 2011 2016. Elon for a year, James Madison for 4, and now Indiana.
I think I said all that.
You did? Yeah.
Right? I mean, his dad, of course, was the head coach at West Virginia at one point. You want to talk about somebody who's ultra confident in himself. He brought 13 of his James Madison players with him to Indiana. I believe 12 of the 13 have been major contributors, which has been phenomenal. They were able to get a transfer quarterback, Rourke, out of Ohio University. Played really well for them last year. And he played against Penn State, so it's not like a guy we hadn't seen. I mean, he played really well last year for them. So how are you going to replace him? And they got Fernando Mendoza
from Cal.
And he has come in and has been tremendous. And if you want to talk about the Oregon-Indiana game, the moment that tells you everything about Mendoza and tells you about Indiana is that Mendoza did something uncharacteristic. He threw a pick six.
He did. Brandon Finney, I think.
Yeah, the freshman out of McDonough. And, that would break some teams. I'm on the road. Autzon's a loud place. It may be 60,000, but it's a really loud place. I'm on the road. It's Autzon. It's Oregon. A lot of teams would be broken by that. They turned right around, went down the field, scored, and had control of the game again. Right? And that tells you everything about them. They are really, really good in the trenches. Their trench warfare sets up pass protection, their running game, and on the opposite side, what they do in the trenches sets up their linebackers really well.
I mean,
they don't do
Aiden Fisher is the linebacker for them?
Aiden Fisher is excellent. He's an excellent player. They don't do anything overly complicated, but what they do well. And that's how it was at James Madison as well.
Okay.
But, so that's him.
I know another guy brought up...
and I didn't even have to Google him.
No, you didn't have to Google him. Another person mentioned, I don't know a lot about. I, of course, heard his name for years. Had a rough night last night, Joe Brady.
Joe Brady was here for 2 years. He was Joe Moorhead's assistant on the offensive side, where Joe Brady really excelled when he was here. Because the only time, I'd say, hey, Joe, how you doing? Hi, Joe, how you doing?
Yeah.
I never really had any long, extensive conversations with Joe. It was like, hey, how you doing? Hey, how the quarterback's doing, whatever, things like that. We'd chit-chat like that. Great guy. Like Joe a lot. But where he really helped Joe Moorhead is that he understood the computer part of it. And Joe Moorhead relied heavily on Joe Brady to handle the computer part of it, printouts, data, things like that. And when Joe Brady went to LSU, even though he wasn't the, quote, offensive coordinator, he was Joe Burrow's guy.
Yeah.
And what a difference he made in how they attacked. Now, they were so ultra-talented.
That team had two best receivers in the NFL now, Ja'Marr Chase and Justin Jefferson. It's crazy.
To go with Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
And I'd like to also point out that I believe when Matt was at Carolina, Joe Brady was his offensive coordinator.
He was.
For a year.
So Joe Brady went from being with Penn State, a grad assistant, to being Drew Brees' offensive assistant, to then being with LSU and Joe Burrow, to then being in Carolina with Matt Rule.
Right, and then he ended up going to the Bills, and he was the quarterback coach there. If I recall, Ken Dorsey was the offensive coordinator. Sean McDermott made the moved Ken Dorsey out. Joe Brady's been the play caller since and has done a great job up there. So
yes, Joe Brady's another guy that's been brought up. Another person mentioned who I've been learning about more the past year and a half, Fran Brown, defensive back coach for Georgia for a while. It is now up in Syracuse. From Kansas, New Jersey, coached at Temple, was there for a while, was at Baylor with Matt Rule, I think, in 2017, was with Rutgers, with Georgia, and, of course, now at Syracuse. So he's kind of been in the Northeast region, was with Matt Rule's staff in 2013. I believe that's when Pat Kraft was at Temple, I think, if my brain is right. So he's been brought up and mentioned. And then I have another question for a team that Penn State is going to face soon that I don't know a lot about. I know of him from his NFL days, Brian Hartline, receivers coach.
Brian Hartline has come in after his years with the Miami Dolphins. They bring him back as the wide receiver coach. The long line of outstanding Ohio State wide receivers, he's been an important part of that. So with Chip Kelly moving to the Las Vegas Raiders, Brian Hartline was then given the designation of being the offensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
And look, you cannot in any way, shape, or form have a lot of questions about the Ohio State wide receivers over the years, and it's not just natural talent. You have to be coached. Look, that's one of a huge mistake that some fans make is that, he's such an ultra, he's such a great player. You don't really need to coach a guy like that. And that is 180 of reality. I mean, Tom Brady will tell you right away what Bill O'Brien meant to him as a coach, or or Josh McDaniels or whatever. Tom Brady wanted to be coached hard. Peyton Manning, you notice whenever Peyton Manning talks about coaches, and of course I know Jim Caldwell really well because Jim was here for a long time on Joe's staff. And I remember our two sons playing Little League together and the whole thing, right? So I know Jim, right? Well, Jim was the quarterback coach, and then eventually became the head coach with the Colts. Peyton Manning always talks about Coach Caldwell, Coach Dungy. He was the quarterback coach and then the head coach at Duke, Tennessee, and then he went to Duke. I can see his face. Right, he was Manning's quarterback coach at Duke, his offensive coordinator, and then became the head coach at Duke, where he had a really nice run. He did a great job at Duke, but he always refers to him as coach. You notice Manning never refers to David Cutcliffe, Coach Cutcliffe. He always refers to them as Coach Cutcliffe, Coach Dungy, Coach Caldwell. He never calls them by their full name because he wanted. Manning did everything out there. He wanted to be coached hard. Well, now back to Brian Hartline. Obviously, you can be a great talent, but you look at Mbuka, how he runs routes. You look at Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, how they run routes. You look at Chris Olave. I mean, there's a long line of
Jackson
people.
Smith and Jigba, Marvin Harrison Jr.
Right. You can just see that they all came in as great talents, and he did a great job as a coach of maximizing their talents there, and I think he deserves a lot of credit for that.
Someone who was here a couple weeks ago who I have not known a lot about, similar vein, last one I'll talk to you about here, Will Stein, offensive coordinator for Oregon.
Well, he's done a great job with two different coaches because he took over for Kenny Dillingham. Kenny Dillingham was the reason that Bo Nix went to Oregon because Kenny Dillingham had been the quarterback coach at Auburn. Kenny Dillingham becomes the offensive coordinator at Oregon, and Bo Nix needed to get out of Auburn. Legacy, no matter how well he played, it was never good enough. I mean, I remember when Auburn came in here, and you hear all that, Nix, he does this, he doesn't do that, he doesn't do this, he doesn't do that. And Penn State won the game that night over Auburn. It was a whiteout game. And I remember saying to Jack Ham on the way out, I said, you and I hear all this garbage about Bo Nix all the time. I said, that guy's, I said, I don't know about you. I said, I was really impressed. I think he's really good. And he goes, yeah, no kidding. He says he is really good. Right? But because of his dad, it's not his dad's fault, but and he had all the hype going in. And remember, he finally got a drive against Oregon in that game in Arlington to start the season. He did not have a good night that night.
No.
But then he had that drive and got him in the, oh, God, he's the next, right? And he could never live up to that. Well, when Kenny Dillingham went to Oregon, it was natural for Bo Nix to go there. Well, he had him for a year. Well, then the next year it was Will Stein that took over. And Will Stein absolutely maximized everything that Bo Nix did and did a great job with him, right? And Nix ended up being a first-round pick, 12th overall, went to Denver. Well, then he gets another quarterback, Moore. Well,
I know he had Dylan Gabriel.
My apologies.
Yeah.
Dylan Gabriel transfers in because he actually transferred in before Moore did. All right, Dylan Gabriel comes in from Oklahoma. And Dylan Gabriel, and one of the reasons he went to Oregon is that he got a draft grade
that wasn't great.
And so he just didn't think Oklahoma was going to get him there. Well, he went and he hooked up with that offense. And by the way, Tez Johnson had a big weekend. Played really well. And he goes to Oregon, and he's the Big Ten Player of the Year because Will Stein did a great job with all that talent. I mean, Oregon's was an ultra-talented team last year. 2 outstanding NFL-level tackles, right? Speed at running back in James, the quarterback in
incredible receivers,
Gabriel,
tight ends.
Right? Ferguson, the tight end, Sadiq, the second tight end, Johnson, Stewart. I mean, they had a lot of things going for them. But Will Stein maximized all that. Now this year, Moore had been waiting in the wings. The Indiana game notwithstanding, he's done a great job with him as well. So, I mean, he deserves a lot of credit for what he's been doing.
Yeah.
So.
And so that's kind of the coaching search in a nutshell, I guess, the coaches that are being mentioned that I had questions about because there are, of course, a lot of other names out there. I know myself and Jason Lord, your 2 favorite people in the world, we sat down and did a chat on Sunday afternoon. Some names he brought up as well were like Alex Golash, Mike Elko, a lot of other people. Eli Drinkwitz is being mentioned because people want, of course, you discussed the fact that Kenny Dillingham went from Auburn to Oregon. It's a whole thing now where a coach leaves, go to somewhere new, the quarterback follows. People think if Eli Drinkwitz leaves Missouri, he's bring Bo Beulah back, and I'm like, we're not going to have this discussion.
Eli Drinkwitz
today.
has done a great job at Missouri. Let's not not sugarcoat. He's in the SEC. Mike Elko is actually a Jersey guy, right? Did a great job at Duke, right? And had done a great job before that, but he got the Duke job, did a fabulous job, which opened the door at Texas. One would have to be asked a question along the way, like if you pulled them aside and say, hey, the pathway to the college football playoff, is it easier in the Big Ten or is it easier in the SEC?
Yeah.
Right? And I think that would have to be a question each one would have to answer in their own way. I don't mean in an interview.
I'm
just saying.
They got to think about that.
I'm just saying in their own private time, if they were ever offered an opportunity like that, they would have to ask themselves that question, because right now the thought process is there could be as many as 5 SEC teams making the college football playoff. And I mean, but that also means, but there aren't just 5 teams ranked in the top 20.
Yeah.
I think in the top 21, I think how many teams in the SEC are ranked right now?
Well, you sit here in
7, 8.
In the SEC, I believe we're sitting at 8, if I can pull it up. I know we've got, of course, Texas A&M, Ole Miss, Alabama, Georgia, and LSU are in the top 10. That's 5.
See, the problem is they end up, quote, eating their own.
Yeah.
And that, like who absorbs that third loss as you're eating your own, and that becomes a problem because Texas A&M still has to play Texas.
You have Tennessee at 11, Texas at 21, Missouri at 16, Oklahoma at 14, and Vanderbilt at 17. That is 10 teams ranked in the top 20. Right. Half of the top 21 is SEC teams.
Right. See, and
then there's Florida and South Carolina. They exist.
See, and that's the issue in that conference. Is that it? Unlike the NCAA men's basketball tournament, where they got 14 of the 16 in because you had 68. Okay, obviously
there's a lot of space.
There's an automatic qualifier, but they got 13 at-large teams in out of the last 37. So they got almost 1/3 of them were SEC teams last year, more than a third. 13 out of the 37 at-larges. All right, were out of the SEC. College football isn't like that. There's 12 spots. Right, and there's only 8 at-large spots. Or excuse me, there's 7 at-large spots. 7. That's it. That's why I've been advocating for 16 for forever, because I just think they're especially now you're seeing the balance in college football. So you have to ask yourself, if you are an SEC head coach, you're looking around the landscape, right? Is it easier for me to get to the college football playoff in the Big Ten, or is it easier for me to stay where I am and be in the SEC? I think that's just a legitimate question to ask.
So I know we are not hiring anybody for Penn State. We are sitting here talking about it. What does, in today's college ball landscape, when a new coach is hired, is brought in, let's say this happens on November 30th. We find out the new coach. Penn State's season has ended November 29th, following their final game against, I believe, Rutgers. November 30th, we find out the future coach of Penn State. What does that look like for a coach now? Because this is an era where there is a lot happening. There are players that are entering the portal. There are players that are, of course, high school recruits committing and coming here. What does that look like for someone coming into Penn State number 30th this season?
Well, because first of all, the letter of intent day is Wednesday, December 3rd.
Okay.
So that part of the calendar doesn't work in their favor. And then I believe 5 days after you're hired, the portal is open, although the official portal is January 2nd to the 16th. But I think 5 days after a hiring, the portal opens up. Okay. And so you have to deal with all that, but it does give you approximately a week to sit down with everybody and say, hey, look, let's talk about some things there. Right? And, part of the question is going to be, if you're a player, right, you look around and say, okay, who's my position coach going to be? Because that person, whomever's hired, how much of the staff they get in place and how quickly. A lot of times they have a pretty good idea of who they want, right? And it doesn't get dragged out too often. And there are also some people around here that they may look at and say, I think we need to keep that person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's a whirlwind. It's a whirlwind. Now, in today's transfer portal world, you can keep yourself in the ball game because of the portal. There's no getting around it. And you see it all over the place. As much as I like the model of player development, roster retention, and being very selective in the portal, which I think actually, when you look at what the 4 teams that made it last year, Notre Dame, Penn State, Texas, and
Ohio State,
Penn State, Notre Dame, Ohio State, and Texas were the 4 that made it last year. All 4 are essentially the same model, right? They pretty heavy on roster retention, and then very selective in the transfer portal. But when you get into a situation like, look at Indiana, overhauled with the transfer portal. Not completely.
But
like you look at Cooper, like where'd they get Cooper from? No, Time Allen recruited Cooper. That's his guy.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, there's a bunch of guys on that team that are Indiana play. I think Aiden Fisher was.
He was a scout team guy, stayed there for years.
Moved up.
Now all of a sudden here he is.
Right. So, but they brought in some other people.
Yeah.
All right. You see what people have done in the portal, but then, and you look at other places. Like Odom's done a good job at Purdue of making them at least. Minnesota had to fight to the finish against them. They've got, between the recruiting class and the portal, they have 84 new players on that team.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can keep yourself relevant, and you can see what Indiana did with Fernando Mendoza. Okay. I mean, both of his quarterbacks that he's had that he has leaned on at Indiana, where he's gone 17-2 there, have both been transfers. Okay. So, I mean, Moore is a transfer.
Before that, Gabriel.
Iamaliava is a transfer. Preston Stone's a transfer. I mean, the last 3 quarterbacks Penn State faced are transfers. They're going to face another one, Mark Gronowski, on Saturday night. Transfer. Julian Sayin, Ohio State. Transfer. Okay, then Mendoza. Of course they'll get to Mendoza. Transfer. Okay, Raiola.
Technically a transfer.
Technically, but for the kid at Michigan State, he's a transfer. All right, and Ethan Kalikmanis played against Penn State, who was at Minnesota. So every quarterback they are facing here down the stretch is a transfer. Every one of them.
Yeah.
Every quarterback they are facing here in the entire Big Ten season is going to be a transfer.
And I don't think Penn State
it's
fans...
Aiden Childs, I was thinking.
Aiden Childs. Along with all the discussion we had about just the general transfer portal stuff is also the fact that, like, a lot of the Penn State players, as we discussed going into this season, there was going to be change anyway because Drew Allar out of eligibility, Nick Singleton, Katron Allen out of eligibility, Drew Pena, like, go down the list, everyone's
Pena,
graduates.
Hudson, Shelton...
Dennis Sutton,
Nick Dawkins, okay?
Across the boards, there's going to be changes. And
sure, there were going to be changes anyway.
Yeah, and we got the question for this week at least. For Penn State, we got a question from someone who's a Nebraska fan. how will the depth chart respond? Similar to what UCLA had happen, where they got a new offensive coordinator. Of course, not the same thing here because Kotelnicki is still the offensive coordinator, but new coach with Terry Smith being in place. Will we see the depth chart expand with players that like a Tyseer Denmark or Kobe Howard? Like, will the depth chart respond is the question we got asked.
Well, it's a good question, and they haven't practiced this week. Tonight they'll practice for the first time. And so it'll be the first chance I'll have to go out there and take a look at, like, you know, what's the thought process.
Yeah. The only depth chart piece I know has to be different is the quarterback.
Right.
So that's the only one we know is a guaranteed difference here.
I mean, so I don't know. You know, I don't know. It's something, and whatever you do, this is not tryout period. Terry Smith's job is to win the game on Saturday night. It's not to, well, let's do a tryout here. No, his job's to win. Which players give me the best chance to win? Those are the players you play.
Yeah.
It's all about trust. And Terry's going to, look, Terry took A.J. Harris out of the game the other day. A.J. Harris is an outstanding corner, but he gave up the touchdown to Wilde, and Terry didn't like how he played it at all, and he didn't play him the rest of the day. And that was Terry's choice. That wasn't James' choice. As the position coach, that was Terry's choice.
And that's a big call because Harris is your number one cornerback. He's the starter for you. He's the guy everyone's excited about who's going to be a draft pick. Like, he's a guy who's going to play on Sundays. And he said, yank him.
No, I had an NFL general manager talk to me about him 3 weeks ago. Okay? We had to talk about him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. But Terry looked at it and go, hey, that's not good enough. That's not the standard. And so he put out Elliott Washington, Davian Collins, and Darius Dixon.
Elliott Washington, by the way, had an incredible pass breakup in the end zone. He had two special teams plays, like two of them. I believe he was the guy who was pushing the Northwestern player into the punt returner, which you're legally allowed to do. And like, he did that. He was part of the downing the ball at the one. So
I mean, but my point is, Terry's going to play the people that he thinks will win the game. This is not like open tryout time. Oh, hey, 3-3. Let's just throw caution. No, that's not his job. So if he thinks, for example, you mentioned Kobe Howard and Tyseer Denmark, if he really thinks that that they can make a difference in winning, play him. If he doesn't think they're quite ready to handle that kind of role, then okay, then you take a different approach. But he'll have to make that call along with Andy Kotelnicki and also Marcus Hagans, because Marcus gets input. He's the wide receiver coach, right? About things like that. So that's something we won't know. We won't know until I actually see it out there.
Yeah, we won't know for a little bit. I do want to go back to the game from this past week, though, and ask you. So we, in terms of there was a lot of up and down and everything across the board. I do want to bring up one player who I thought played really well. That was. Like, watching him play, I was like, okay, like he looks like we're not going to get to the is he having fun or not? That's a whole other discussion we've already had. Katron Allen ran the ball really well.
Well, okay, he ran for 90 yards. He had 16 carries, 90 yards, and a touchdown in the game. Yeah, almost had a second one. Drew scored on that one on the quarterback sneak, and it was the right call. His knee was down. He was a half yard out. But Katron Allen has had a great offseason. He had never really had a great offseason until this year. He's down 10 pounds from last year. He's got that quickness. He can show a little speed, but he's got quickness. How quick his feet are. He's great feet. And, he is, and he's a heart and soul kind of runner.
Yeah. He runs. I've described his running style as I don't want to be the ground if Katron's running around me because that hurts.
Oh, no, it's exactly.
So Katron played well.
And they're going to need that. I mean, because, look, expectations. I talked about this. I am so big on embracing expectations that I would rather have expectations than hope. Okay? So that's why I looked at this year and go, hey, look, okay, there are expectations. Fine, go for it.
Of course.
Okay, fine. Put yourself in this spot, right? I'm fine with that. And when don't, quote, meet expectations, then you get this swirl of negativity. And it's felt like in the last 2 weeks an avalanche. And the weird thing is that 2 weeks ago, they're winning the game in overtime against Oregon.
They were up 6 in overtime against Oregon, about to possibly win.
They're up 7.
Yeah.
Right? In overtime. Okay? Couldn't get the stop. In a bizarrely officiated game, including the replay guys. Like, it was bizarre. Like, Jack and I are like, what the heck's going on? Even the replay on where he spun out. I mean, do I think he may have been down? Maybe. Right? But you have to, the play on the field was called what?
The fumble.
Yeah. Which means you have to have indisputable video evidence. Where's the indisputable part? You can't make it up as you go. All right? But that's how close you were. Okay, I know what the point spread was in the last 2 games. Okay? I don't care what the point spread was. I never have. Okay? For those of you who care about it, that is your problem.
Yeah.
That is not my problem. They've lost the 3 games by a whopping total of 12 points. 12 points. Right? Now, do I think they're a better team than UCLA? Yes. Do I think they're a better team than Northwestern? Yes. Do I think that they're toe-to-toe, and if you get a break or whatever, that they could be a little bit better in Oregon? Could be. But they didn't win the games.
No.
They didn't win the games. And that just expectations tagged on with what has happened the last 3 weeks created an avalanche of negative sentiment.
And so what does going forward these next few days before the Iowa game look like for the Nittany Lions? They practice today.
Terry will keep it together. I mean, this is where
similar routine.
Yeah, Terry will keep it together.
Okay.
That's first of all, the team universally respects Terry. I mean, when James, say something happens and James has to be out of town for something or whatever, it was always Terry that ran the team meetings. He was always the guy to do that. This is, I mean, he's a Penn Stater through and through. This place means so much to him. He recruited a bunch of players on this team, so he's got relationships with a lot of players on this team, like deep relationships with them. They'll play for him. Okay? There's no doubt about it. They will play for him. Right? And then we'll see how it plays out on Saturday night, because it is a typical Iowa team that plays very good defense, doesn't make a lot of mistakes defensively, has not given up a single run of more than 20 yards all season. Now, they've given up pass plays.
Yes.
They've given up 13 longer pass plays this year.
But their run defense.
They haven't given up a run more than 20 yards all season. All right. Offensively, Moulton's back, and that's made a big difference for them. That's helped out. They've had some injuries back there, so that it's because Patterson's been out, and he's played some, then he's out, and they had another guy out. So they've gone with McNeil, who's been back there, who's the speedy freshman, and so forth. Weegan gives them speed in the outside. The odd thing about Weegan is this: Weegan has 4 returns for touchdowns in his career.
Okay.
2 punts, 2 kickoffs. He's got great speed.
Pretty good, yeah.
Great speed. And they will run occasionally a reverse with him offensively. Here's the weird part about Weegan. He's only averaging 5.9 yards a catch.
Huh?
And that doesn't add up with the guy I see on returns.
Yeah.
He's got 4. He is second to Tim Dwight. He is second to Tim Dwight in number of returns for touchdowns in Iowa's history. And Dwight was a marvelous receiver, great kick return. Tim Dwight was a heck of a player. Right? Well, this guy's got 4 of them. He's had one punt and 1 kickoff this year to go with 1 previously at each. So he's got 2 and 2 in his career. He's got 4. So you'd be figuring he's probably averaging about 13 to 16 yards a catch. 5.9. Huh?
And we will
what am I missing here?
We'll talk more about Iowa as the week goes on. Of course, before you leave town to go to Kinnick Stadium and all that fun jazz. We'll discuss Iowa more as the week goes on here in Happy Valley.
Thank you for listening to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, a 7 Mountain Media production. Come back at 11 every weekday for analysis of the latest happening in the sports landscape. From college football to European soccer, Steve and Kyle cover it all on Sports Talk with Steve Jones.